Hello and welcome to Back at Camp, Mojave County's only outdoor television show. I'm your host, Don Martin, and on today's show I have a very special guest. Luca Zanna from Golden Valley is going to be here, and we're going to discuss the Bundy situation in the area of Bunkerville, which is northeast of Las Vegas. This is a very contentious issue and has brought up a lot of points that we want to share with you today. So don't go away. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Welcome back to Back at Camp. I'm your host, Don Martin, and I'd like to welcome Luca Zanna.
Nice to meet you, Don. Good to see you, man.
Luca, we've been talking a little bit off camera about the situation that's ongoing as we speak up in Bunkerville, which is northeast of Las Vegas. Let's go back and talk about this. This involves rancher Cliven Bundy and his refusal to basically pay his fees for grazing, and this all started a long time ago. What I want to do, Luca, is I want to give you the floor. I want you to tell what your opinion is, what you saw. You've been there, and I want you to tell everybody what you saw.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity, by the way. I appreciate it.
You betcha.
I'm a Mojave County resident, and I would like to do a premise. I don't really have any type of financial involvement in the beef industry. I don't even eat cows, okay? But
you're a vegetarian.
No. I like chickens and
like
fish.
chicken.
Okay, I like birds. I like birds.
Birds, okay. Got it.
But anyway, regardless, I came back home at night and I watched a video, and a few videos, honestly. A video, and I started about this situation that was ongoing in Bunkersville with this Bundy's family. Honestly, I never really heard about them before. The video was kind of disturbing because I was able to see women, unarmed women, ranchers, in different parts of the videos being beaten up, some being tased, just because, and some try to be confined in an area, it's called, on BLM, on public land, called the First Amendment area. When I saw, first of all, an unarmed woman, you know, as much as she was vocal, she was exercising the First Amendment, okay, and she was not carrying any weapon. She was also, like to let you know, a grandmother. She's not exactly what you call a military Navy SEAL woman, okay? She was a regular woman, cancer survivor, by the way, and just because she was asking a question, what is inside this truck? Because they were afraid that they were going to put the dead bodies of the cows, I understand later. Anyway, she was asking a question. She was taken from the back and thrown on the ground. That's just a little example. Then when I saw, for example, a man, Ammon Bundy, okay, taking a photo of military or paramilitary, we don't know for sure, technically it's supposed not to be military, but we know with the National Defense Authorization Act, the executive can also deploy military on US soil for also arresting and indefinitely detaining every one of us just because potentially being domestic terrorists. Just a little parenthesis to remember where we are right now as a nation. When I saw anyway these snipers, high-powered sniper on top of the hill, on photo, pointing down on unarmed ranchers and Americans, and meanwhile this man, just because Ammon Bundy, just because he wanted to take a photo of them, he got tased, beaten up, and arrested, and then released 24 hours later, I said, we have a little problem. And it's not anymore about the grazing rights. It's not even before we go to the preemptive state laws regarding these grazing rights, the BLM, and everything else. We will, of course, address this. But for me, as an American, when I understand that if this is called martial law, guys, I don't know, I mean, let's be honest here. When there is no more constitution, when somebody tells me that I must exercise my First Amendment just in this square of 10 by 10, like a cow, just because they say so, on public land, I'm sorry, guys. They lose all the moral ground, in my opinion, the BLM or whatever they are. Okay. So I went there. I said, okay, I would like to learn more because, you know, I don't say I know everything, and I don't want to. I always believe that we have a process. And we need to, first of all, be informed. We have rule of laws, as you were saying before. We must follow. But for me, the first law, the law of the land, where I took the note to uphold the Constitution, like I know you did when you served, was the Constitution, U.S. Constitution. That's the first law that we're supposed to do. After, every statute can be null and void if it's against the Constitution, number one. Number two, there is also the moral law, the law of God. I believe in nonviolence. I believe in peace. I believe that unarmed men and women, especially my fellow Americans, I want to stand with them if I see violence used upon them. I don't care if from the government or from some thugs. So that's why I went there, and I will tell you more, of course, what I've seen if you want.
Okay, let me just go back here and kind of give you an idea where I'm coming from. I've been in Mojave County since 1972. I'm a military veteran. I served in the U.S. Army from 1969 to 72. I went to work for the police department in 72, and I worked for the Kingman Police Department until about 1984. And then I went to work for the Gilbert Police Department and worked there for a year until I was injured in the line of duty and subsequently was medically retired. So I've got a little background both from a military standpoint and from a civilian police officer standpoint. And I'm also a conservationist and an outdoorsman. And I have worked closely with the ranching community in Arizona for years and years and years. I've been involved with them and looking at, you know, improving public lands. And I think we'll talk a little bit here about what our opinion of public lands and who owns them. But the bottom line is I'm not anti-cowboy. I'm sure not anti-grazing. I believe in multiple use, but not abuse of public lands. And I think grazing is absolutely a lawful use of public lands. So I want to make that perfectly clear from the start. I'm also a holder of a number of federal special use permits. In my guiding both fishing and hunting operations, I'm required to purchase annual permits to operate on public lands. I feel that that is justifiable. I have a commercial operation. I should pay a reasonable fee to use those lands. And I think everybody that does use those lands, whether it's for hunting, fishing, photography, whatever, cattle grazing, should also pay those fees. So this is my interest in this, and we're going to talk to Luca more, and we're going to go back on this and express our ideas. In 1993, Mr. Bundy was the last rancher in Clark County to operate or to have a grazing lease. Now, you need to understand that this all started because the Endangered Species Act was passed, and it mandated that animal species that were determined to be threatened or endangered were afforded special protections under law that must be mandated to keep them a viable species. The desert tortoise was one of those that was identified in that area. Now, the Las Vegas developers were wanting to buy land to develop Las Vegas, Henderson, and those areas. But those were high-value desert tortoise habitats. So every acre of land, anybody that wanted to buy and develop land up there had to pay a special $500 per acre fee that was then put into a pot for what they called mitigation purposes. Again, now these tortoises have been afforded this special protection under the Endangered Species Act. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service determined that area north and east of Las Vegas towards Bunkerville was Class 1 tortoise habitat, which means it's the highest value. Now, to most people, they look out there and just see desert, not much there. But to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, that's high-value tortoise habitat. So what they started to do was they went to the BLM, which administers land use on public lands, and they told them, okay, you have to implement these restrictions because we got to protect the desert tortoise. So just to make that clear how this got started with the ESA and with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service telling BLM, you have to do this. Now, subsequently, the ranchers that were affected were given an opportunity to sell out their ranches and to recover and to go somewhere else and continue ranching. Everybody did but Mr. Bundy. And then Mr. Bundy on his own decided he was not paying any more grazing fees because he didn't like what the federal government was doing with them. So he essentially said, I fired them. And he says they have no dominion or control over him on federal lands. This is an ongoing situation. You can read about it in the papers. There has been tons of newspaper coverage on this and TV coverage, and you can look at that and see the background. Essentially right now, Mr. Bundy is $1 million in arrears to the federal government for grazing leases that he has not paid for. But Mr. Bundy, who had, by the way, a permit for 150 animals, has now about 900 animals out there on public lands, and he's been grazing them for the last 20 years, and he hasn't paid a dime to the federal government for those uses. That being said, it went to court. Mr. Bundy has went to federal court twice to try to get his rights, as he sees them, upheld and not have to worry about this. Both times, federal court has ruled against him, and matter of fact, it is the federal court, not the BLM, who has issued the trespass status and said those cows must come off that range because this is the law. And understand, this is America. Luca knows that. We agree on that. And we also have the law of the land. And my feeling is, just because you disagree with the law does not mean you can ignore it or that it does not apply to you. And this is my take on that situation up there, is why does a man operate in complete violation of the federal law and basically thumbs his nose at the federal government and says, I'm not leaving and I'm going to graze cows here. And matter of fact, he's increased his cow herd, and obviously he's made a living up there for the last 20 years. That's called feeding at the public trough, and I don't think that's right. Luca and I'll discuss that, and we'll get into some other issues that Luca thinks applies to this. But my basic position here is that Mr. Bundy, just like all of us who have federal permits, should abide by the rules of those permits. I note that the Nevada Cattle Association, which is the largest group of cattlemen in Nevada, have disassociated themselves from Mr. Bundy because of his actions. They have stated publicly that they believe in ranching and wildlife interest and protecting those interests. Obviously, that's not the case going on here. So there's a lot of issues involved with this than just, you know, him not paying fees. So, hey, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, it's going to be Luca's turn. And we're going to let Luca tell you some more information from his side about what this whole situation involves. So don't go away. This is going to be a great show, folks. And we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Illegal aliens, if our border patrol, for God's sake, they point their rifle on drug dealers of south of the border, they get arrested. Prove it.
Yeah.
And now you...
Welcome back to Back at Camp, Mojave County's only outdoor television show. I'm your host, Don Martin, and with me today is Luca Zanna. And we've been talking about the Bundy issue up there in southeastern Nevada, north of Las Vegas. Luca, you heard my take on this and what my concerns are about the, you know, basically a guy says, hey, I'm firing the federal government and I'm going to stay here and there's nothing you can do about it.
I understand.
Okay, now I think it's important that, because I think you're a very intelligent guy, and I think that people want to hear what you see, because obviously we're looking at this a little different.
Maybe not.
We're both good Americans.
Maybe not. Maybe we are more in common than we think.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But there's some issues.
Yes.
And that's why they got chocolate and vanilla ice cream. But I want people to listen and hear what Luca has to say about this. Okay.
First of all, I am not a lawyer for the Bundy's family. I'm not a PR for the Bundy's family. Whatever I'm going to tell you right now, this is just from a perspective of an American, a citizen of Arizona, that I believe in the Constitution as a supreme law of the land. I believe in Bill of Rights. And I believe that any international treaty, especially under the United Nations, in my opinion, should never come before our U.S. Constitution.
And you know, I agree 100%.
So you see, maybe we already have something that's more in common than we think.
Sure.
Because what's come down to, let's analyze the situation. First of all, this Bundy situation, I would like to divide it in two different aspects. One is about police state, martial law. This is not a conspiracy, guys. I wish every one of us, if you didn't do it yet, go to Google National Defense Authorization Act. Okay, it's a new law passed in 2011 and 2012. Okay, and there's Mr. Obama and the Congress and also the Senator and many Republicans. Don't forget Senator McCain wanted it. Okay? That now, for the first time in America, we go before the pre-Magna Carta. That means the government, the king used to do, now is the government, the executive. Just because you don't, you're a suspected terrorist. No more proof, no more habeas corpus, no more body of the crime, no more jury, no more trial, no more American due process. You can be thrown, arrested, first of all, with the military, by the military, so we repeal also posse comitatus in this law. We have already division of Americans, military, unfortunately, but not just them, I'll tell you now more, ready to arrest you and indefinitely detain you. Indefinitely, you can be thrown out forever. So this is not a conspiracy, it's the law of the land, as you were saying. Guess what? Can be the law of the land in Washington. When I took an oath to become an American, my law of the land, every law against the United States Constitution is null and void. And so also the Supreme Court said a few times. So we need to understand the situation where we live in now. Now I'll give you another part, because it's all connected. Are you familiar that FEMA, an official government agency, signed an agreement just a few months ago, you can Google that directly on FEMA.gov, not a conspiracy, with the Russian military, that in case of an emergency, we have now Russian special troops already stationed in Colorado, ready to patrol and keep us safe. Are you aware of that?
No, I'm not aware.
And I invite you to verify my information, please. And so all of you.
And I fully understand that.
And now I tell you how we connect this with the,
yes,
because
yes.
it is
Get
not,
back to the
band is connected, it's connected.
Right.
Are you aware of Agenda 21, an international treaty that was signed by Bush father at Rio de Janeiro?
Yes, I've heard of that.
Okay, it's very important. According to Agenda 21, that is not just some sort of, feeling good treaty, pretty much United Nations, through all the governments of the country that signed this agreement, reclaim that they own our natural resources. Okay? That means land, water, air. That means that they can tax us appropriately using our own government, our own laws, to try pretty much to separate us from our natural resources.
And when was that done?
That was done 1980, 1999, excuse me, when it was Bush father, 1993. Anyway, check it out. The date I forgot, my brain is exploded, but Agenda 21, you Google it, you see exactly the date.
Okay. And you know the Bundy thing started in 1993.
Yes, that because it was anyway implemented just after, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Maybe I'm wrong about the 80, but anyway, it was during the first term of Bush father, okay?
Okay.
And just now I forget the date. But anyway, Agenda 21 is not a conspiracy. It's also now being approached by mainstream media. Glenn Beck has been touching that in many, many episodes. This is real. What comes down to everything now you see here, there is a map. It's called biodiversity map, okay? All the areas in red, no more human consumption. Just animals. You will see the last few years, many trails, you know you're an outdoors guy, you like to go hunting, you like to go even maybe just hiking. Mm-hmm. Many places now, BLM or whoever control the federal land is going to start to restrict it. It is part of the plan. The situation with these, now we're going to go back to this little turtle story, the tortoise, okay? Yep. That's just another excuse, by the way, that has been also proven. BLM has been euthanizing thousands of tortoises just a few weeks because they're out of funds. Okay? Now let's talk exactly the two different aspects of this story for me. First of all, it's an American U.S. Constitution Bill of Rights aspect. When I saw America, an armed American, men and women, just because they want to exercise the First Amendment, they were trying to be confined in this Nazi-style orange square area where only them. It's not like they were in front of a building, were disturbing the peace. There was a BLM in the middle of the desert. They were trying to mentally constrain them to be slave. I have a problem with that. First Amendment doesn't say that I need to be in this little square. Do you agree with me?
I would agree that okay. I think that the First Amendment zones that they created, yeah. that was
okay.
But I think also when you look at the videos and those folks out on the public highways.
Let's start one thing at a time. Not everybody is responsible for every other action. I'm talking about it. That day all started because this family wanted to speak up. They wanted to exercise the First Amendment. They were also unarmed. That I don't even justify that because I always believe in the Second Amendment. But at the time, just to be sure, there were no misunderstanding. They were unarmed, all of them. Mostly they were women. Okay.
I don't think all of them.
Look at the photo of the first day when there was this little orange stuff. If they were armed, they were not just dead, they were being shot. But anyway, then when you have military or paramilitary, we don't even know who they really are. I don't think BLM has snipers training. You tell me, because you know him better than me. I don't think these were BLM agents, because snipers, 200 yards on top of the hill, aiming down on women and men, I have a big problem. This is not Iraq, this is not Afghanistan, this is America. Don't point your guns at us just because we're exercising our First Amendment. This is for me before even we go to the situation with the Bundys and the different court cases, okay? So this is the first aspect I would like to say. Americans, after you know that this National Defense Authorization Act, we're already under martial law, and this is one of the proofs. Not just because it did not happen to you, it is not happening. So wake up. Even if you don't believe, if you don't want to support the legal situation with the cattle, we should support as a Bill of Rights, as a Constitution. We do not want to use violence on an arm, and by the way, innocent, because you're innocent until proven guilty.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I don't want to start people beating up just because they feel like it. Now, aspect number one. That's why I went there. That's it, number one. Now, I went there, I started to learn a little bit. And as I say, you gave a good, at least chronological story. There is more. If you can go out. For example, one thing I learned, and I said, this is, I'm not trying to rebuke your points, because maybe the only person who should do that would be the Bundys family or Bundys PR. I'm just a guy trying to learn from both sides. I have an open mind, okay?
Sure.
I don't have any personal interest in anything but just the truth.
And the truth of the matter is you're not there to support Bundy.
I believe freedom.
As a cattle situation. You were there because you felt that his rights were being violated.
Yes, exactly.
But nothing to do. You weren't making any judgments about whether he's right or wrong.
No, exactly. Because first of all, I don't know enough. If I don't know enough, I don't want to say anything. I try, first of all, I see enough when I see a woman just because asking a question. I don't care how big mouth she is. That could be my mom. Don't touch a woman, older lady, and throw her on the ground on American soil. You got a problem with me. Seriously.
Yeah,
okay, if you're a peace officer, you were a peace officer.
I was.
I know that, for example, as an American, as a law-abiding citizen, I must use force appropriately. If somebody just tell me, screw you, I can't just throw my gun out.
Right.
Or I can just punch him in the face. Say, defuse, please stop. Don't do that. If there is a guy that's 300 pounds towards me, maybe I need to do something there. It was a woman. Somebody's taking a photo of snipers. Let's focus who started all this. Why? This is America, for God's sake. You imagine that they have snipers pointing at a bunch of farmers. They don't point these freaking rifles on the illegal aliens. If our border patrols, for God's sake, they point their rifles on drug dealers south of the border, they get arrested. Proven.
Yeah.
And now you tell me that we should stay silent when I see American innocent men and women being pointed their guns at us. That's my point.
Yeah,
the rest, it's, as you said, we need to learn more. And now, another thing I want to tell you. We're talking about we are a country, a nation.
A nation of laws.
I believe in that. Who is the first law of the land? United States Constitution.
Right.
I can make a law tomorrow that your freedom of speech, must be just constrained in that 10 by 10. They're trying to pass the law. Right now, for example, Senator Feinstein is trying to pass a law. The only media authorized to be real media and defend it with their First Amendment right are media that they are like from the big networks. Screw you, Feinstein, screw you. This, for me, this law is null and void. They could make tomorrow a law that they say, by the way, your guns, no. We give you just black powder, because that's what we say.
And I understand. I really do understand what you're saying. But
now let me go specifically to the Bundys, okay? And this I'll tell you my perspective, not because I'm a legal authority. I'm not even taking side. What I see from my point of view. First of all, we should go back. Who is before the federal government? If the way our country was set up was this United States of America. The states created the federal government. Do you agree with me? It's a fact. The state of Nevada, okay, joined, of course, the union. Now, these people, this family, they were there before even the state of Nevada was created, okay? Now, they are the only people that can, I think, honestly rebuke your points. From my point of view is this. There is a point that today it's happening to them. They are allegedly, because I don't want to say I take any side, I just want to say what a perspective, they're taking their rights that they had for many generations to grace. But when people start to understand a different part of the puzzles, like Senator Ira Reid, that appoint just 2 weeks ago as head of the BLM, his chief of staff, former chief of staff, and then we have his son lobbying for China, and then we have a solar farm coming in your face. They manipulate the system. They control the judges. Tomorrow they can tell you, by the way, the judge says that you must pretty much...
Hold on to that thought. We got to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll get more into this. Okay, folks, it's a great show today. Don't go away. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be right back after a word from our sponsors. Welcome back to Back at Camp. I'm your host, Don Martin, and I'm talking with Luca Zanna today, and we're talking about this Bundy issue. Now, Luca, here's kind of a take on this, on this states' rights thing. The Nevada Constitution was implemented, I think it was 1848, I may be off on that, but in that Constitution, it says that even though that Nevada is a state, that they are also allegiant to the United States and will obey laws that are created by the United States and Supreme Court. They're upheld by Supreme Court. In this case, we have a federal judge, two of them, who have ruled on this and said, no, this is not right. This is not right. Mr. Bundy, you have to take your cows off. Then the judge says to the BLM, okay, I'm ordering you, because he's in violation, to do this. Now, Mr. Bundy's position is the federal government has no oversight on his management, that he'll obey Nevada law but not federal law.
I understand.
But yet we know that their Constitution, Nevada Constitution, says that you have allegiance to the United States and you must obey their laws. So I have an issue.
I understand. And as I said, you know, the only person that I think has all the facts straight, I could give you the deep analysis, and also more than we know, probably me and you put together, is Mr. Bundy in this area, because he's been living there for 5 generations, at least this family. Now, what I say is this, as a generic point of view. You ever read the book, The Law, by Frederic Bastiat?
No.
Okay, it's a very important book. It was one of the foundation of our founding fathers. When they created this republic, one of their concerns was they can use, the government, if it goes out of control, can use our own laws, okay, going against God's laws, going against natural laws to enslave us. That's the bottom line.
And just so everybody knows, you and I both agree that the federal government's out of control.
Yes, I understand.
I would not debate that.
Now, my point is this one.
But it's how you handle this. How did you
I agree.
this?
We need to find a peaceful solution. I agree with you. We need to find the lawful solution.
Right.
I'm all with you there. I never advocate any violence.
What about, my thought is, why don't we, and I think this is going to wake up a lot of federal legislators. Why don't we go back and say to them, listen, there's been some laws created, and I'm going to go back to the Endangered Species Act, because I think this started all this stuff. And go back and review that, and let's take care of that, and get back to what this country is
Let's
about.
go back to our state legislators, because our state legislators, I think they are the one we're supposed to reclaim our 10th Amendment, our state sovereignty. And just to let you know, I won't never comply with the global government laws, because the ECA, even if it was ratified by our Senate, technically it is under Agenda 21, is part of this New World Order laws that they want to control our resources. Now, going back, yes, we need to work with our legislators. There is already a movement.
Instead of pointing guns at each other.
First of all, you know what? Shame on everybody to point a gun first. First, because as my natural right, as my American right, if you point a gun at me, like that I don't shoot you back. I just point the gun on the ready. And that's what happened. I'm not taking any side, but just the fact. I was down there. There were 3 people at the beginning down in the valley. 3 men. One was a journalist, a Fox News reporter. And when they pointed the gun at them, there wasn't on the ready, trigger was on the finger. Shame on them. I don't care they wear a uniform. No, shame on you, BLM, you're watching this. Or wherever you are. I don't even think you are BLM. Probably there were some freaking mercenary there. Okay, I'm telling you this one. And I'm the only responsible. Don't blame it on him. Shame on you to point a loaded gun on an armed American citizen. Then don't complain if somebody point a gun at you. Lucky you didn't get shot. Seriously. Because the point is this one. I don't advocate any violence. But who started, it wasn't the American people.
And this is something that I am so concerned with, is that somebody, sooner or later, There's folks out there, Luca, and I don't think anybody's going to deny this, that are spoiling for a fight with the United States government. And if this is a rallying point, I don't think they care about Mr. Bundy. I think they look at this as an issue to galvanize people and say, let's start a revolution.
I agree with you. Everything is possible. I'll tell you one thing. If there were really people ready to start something, they had the perfect opportunity there.
They did.
Okay? And even by accident. Even by accident.
Yes.
I was mostly concerned about this word called false flag, infiltrators. It's been proven. Hey, don't forget Rahm Emanuel, what he said. Never let a crisis be non-used. That would be perfect for gun control. Would be perfect to go back to martial law that we talk about. I was praying two languages, Italian and English. Please God, nobody use violence.
Okay, let me ask you this. Why do you think the federal government backed off? Why do you think?
I tell you why. First of all, because there was independent media, and the media were there. People with cameras, video, internet, live feed. Different from 30, 40 years ago, now we have technology that we can put everything live. Okay. I was there on the front line, and I was very proud to be there with my fellow Americans. It was my most beautiful, fulfilling day as an American, exercising my First Amendment, even with a gun pointed from my federal government. I was there ready to get a bullet, and I didn't care. We have the video, people can watch it, can go to even my website, lovegunsfreedom.com, lovegunsfreedom.com. There is the blog section, the blog, you get the video. It's all there. The video doesn't lie.
Why did they back off?
First of all, because we were ready to die. And I tell you something, there is a bluff, it's like a poker game, okay? Even I don't play poker. You try to push the limits, and you see who is the first one is going to give up. I never seen so much resolution in these men, young men, women.
How many people were there?
About at least a couple hundred on the line. Many of them, they were on the bridge. They were afraid to come down.
Right.
We were down there, and he said, we don't go away. Shoot us. We are unarmed. Shoot us. You want to start a revolution? This is going to be on your fault. Number one. Number two, we got media. We had resolution and conviction. Many of us believe in God. And I believe at that point, you can do everything you want to my body. Go ahead. I don't care. And then, now they think, and that's what I want to say, the Second Amendment was still there, and I'm glad that they use it responsibly. The moment that some of us going to be shot, and I'm not saying that it was right or wrong, this point was the natural act. If you start violence, if you ask for it, you're going to live by the sword and die by the sword. If any of us going to get shot innocently, just because talking and speaking, exercising the First Amendment, unarmed, there were Americans behind us with rifles. This is no England. This is not Russia, this is not Italy, this is America. Second Amendment is not just for hunting. It's to draw the line. If you cross it, if you're a criminal, we defend our rights.
That's right.
And I believe in that.
All right, now let me give you my perspective.
Yes.
I think why they pulled out, I think it was more political. And because, hey, let's face it, this is an election year. Do you think that the people that are in power wanted another Ruby Ridge or Waco? No way. They didn't want to see American blood spilled in that desert over this issue. This wasn't a good political time.
I agree.
So they backed off.
I agree.
And the thing that disturbs me about this is the fact that it's not over. It is not over. And okay, they diffused it one time, but then I looked at the newspaper clippings, and you know what I saw? Feds taste defeat. And I'm not sure that's right.
I agree.
Because, that's pretty inflammatory, and, those guys that were sent there, those officers, and to my knowledge, those are police officers.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Oh, the BLM guys, absolutely. They're law enforcement guys.
You know that the snipers, by the way, that they're on photos, they are not even badges. There were no patches.
I will not make any statements about a sniper, but I can tell you those BLM guys that are wearing the patches, those are BLM officers. They're law enforcement officers, Luca. And they were sent there with orders, hey, don't, and I watched those videos.
Point a gun on people?
I watched the videos where all they were saying to the crowd was, stand back, get back. They didn't call them filthy names. The people in the crowd were calling those guys every name in the book and were pushing towards them. They were going, you're agitating, you're agitating.
Now, first of all, just because, not to understand which situation, we're talking about the standoff under the bridge?
No, I'm talking, both of them.
Because I was there. The standoff under the bridge, I was there.
They were going to go get the cows.
Okay, they were under the bridge. That's why the standoff. That's because I would like to talk about things that I witnessed with my own eyes. Okay.
Did you witness?
I was there. I was on the front line. I tell you exactly what I see. That's why I invite people to watch also the video. Okay. Right. First of all, if people were calling names, not all of them, but it's still called First Amendment, you know? I mean, I can call the president a scumbag that he is, by the way. Seriously, I don't even call him president. This is my First Amendment, and you go kill me if you want to. I don't care, seriously. Number two, yes, I think there were some passion there, I understand.
Yes.
But still, a word cannot be comparable to draw a gun on somebody, because nobody was drawing a gun on them, okay? Number one. Number two, the fact that exactly the lingo or the words, the phrasing that was coming out from this BLM wasn't just about stand down. We use force. Okay? And the fact they are on visual, they have videos. Go check it out, the videos.
I know.
There are rifles pointed, especially the first few minutes. When the media came down, when the rest of us was already, the number grew up, the rifles was on the ready position. When the first 10 minutes, when there were few of us, the rifle was on target, finger on the trigger. I'm telling you, I was there. You check it out. You weren't there. I wish I was wrong. I wish I say, you know what, everything was peachy.
So you're saying that the federal officers with the rifles had fingers on the trigger?
Finger on the trigger. When you train, you know that. The first rule of a safety is safety on and finger on off the trigger. Okay? I mean, if I have my finger off the trigger, I am finger off the trigger, rifle on the ready. If I am on target, finger on the trigger. That's the way I train at front side, okay? So the moment that I am on target, my finger, it's on the trigger.
And were the safeties off?
Doesn't matter. At that point, I couldn't see it because I didn't have such eye. But the rifle was on target. The first rule: never muzzle anything you don't want to destroy. Okay? And we are Americans. Nobody of us on the area was pointing at that.
On the other side, those are federal law enforcement officers.
Okay.
And again, I mean, you know, being a former law enforcement officer, and I've been in some stuff. When the public comes up, they have a right to say what they want. However, those officers also have a right to protect themselves, and if they have a mission to protect the vehicles or whatever the situation was, that's their mission. And I think that people need to understand, if you want to protest, you get out there and protest. But if there are rules, and again, we are a nation of laws.
State of Arizona. And general defensive laws, I have the right to defend myself, engage, throw my gun.
Yeah.
Okay, also throw my gun as a self-defense, okay? Must be some sort of distance. Normally it's 21 feet, okay? You remember that?
Oh, I hear you.
Okay, now, we're talking about, we were more than 100 yards, rifle on. Nobody was throwing rocks at them. Nobody was pointing anything. There was way before any type of fear. Nobody was saying, we're going to come and we beat you up.
Okay. Hey, we got to take another break. Now, when we come back, we got one more segment to deal with, so don't go away. We'll be right back. Great show, folks. A lot of different ideas here. We all believe in one thing, though. We believe in America. So don't go away. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
The local judge was a local sheriff, completely corrupted. GI veterans fought the Nazis, they came back home and they see their county completely overrun. Now, I'm not advocating for violence, but who is the final authority? We, the people, created the federal government. Let's not forget that. That's in the Constitution and Declaration of Independence. We, the people. So, I'm all for the system.
Welcome back to Back at Camp, Mojave County's only outdoor television show. We're a little off the topic here today. We're talking about the Bundy situation, but it's vitally important, not only to me as an American citizen and you as an American citizen, but also as outdoorsmen, conservationists. So it all intermingles here, folks. So that's why we got Luca here. We're talking to him. Luca, we talked about the tense situation under the bridge. I know there was pictures in the newspaper that showed, if you will, militia snipers back behind, looking at the people down below. You say there was people up on the hill, the government people up there.
Yes.
But the thing I think we both agree on, we're so glad that this didn't go violent.
I was praying every language, as I said, because I tell you, first of all, it would be a disaster. The real loser would be the American people.
Absolutely.
Because we lose the moral ground. We want to be peaceful. And more important, we want never going to be the first. Like during the revolution. Hey, Colonel Parker said, let them shoot the first round. If you want a battle, we have it here today, but we will not shoot. Hold the line, and let them shoot first.
And we just hope that some
And
crackpot
I hope nothing happens. No, but even our founding fathers didn't want to start a war, didn't want to start a fight.
Right.
We are law-abiding citizens. We believe in love, we believe in country, and we believe in of course, in not harming innocent people. And the proof was that nobody shot.
Yeah.
That's my point. This time. Yeah. Now, how to defuse that? How to prevent that? It's called the county sheriff. If the county sheriff, as the most highest
chief law enforcement,
the chief, constitutionally, the highest elected chief of officer in the county, instead of coming later, say, wait a second, now I deal with the situation. I handle the situation. I handle with the bandits. I will talk with them. We're going to find out the way. I think everything would never happen, all this mess.
Okay, that's a good point. But if the sheriff up there has orders from a judge, 2 federal judges, should he do what the judge says do, which was take those cows out?
Yeah, let me tell you now my end. So you ever heard about Sheriff Mack Supreme Court case?
Oh, yes.
Okay, Mack Prince against United States. What did he say, the Sheriff Mack court case? Even if it was based against the Brady law at the time.
Right.
Okay. The point is, the county, the feds can come here and have jurisdiction with only 3 exceptions. One, if somebody's printing money, funny money, like the Federal Reserve is doing.
Right.
Okay. Number 2, treason on the high sea. Okay. And then if there was some sort of high treason. Okay. Bottom line, beside this, any federal plan like Obamacare in the state, it was enforced on us. We signed for it. Same things with the counties. The feds come here because the state and the counties let them do it.
So do you think they have jurisdiction?
Yes, they have to register. And also the Supreme Court, I wish you invite one day, maybe Sheriff Mack, that he was the winner in this historical Supreme Court case, Mack Prince against the United States. Judge Scalia, Supreme Judge Scalia said, yes, you, Sheriff, you have jurisdiction over this. The only way that they can come here, all in this very specific exception.
So you're thinking the sheriff and not the BLM Rangers and those people.
And also another thing, my friend, listen. I want to obey to laws of America, and I want to obey laws that, by the way, never infringe the United States Constitution, Bill of Rights. Any other laws, I have the right to judge, to decide.
You think you can just ignore them?
Listen to me. When there was Rosa Parks was thrown out,
Well, I hear you.
hey, there was a law of the land.
No, well,
was
not
a law.
necessarily the land.
Doesn't matter.
It was down.
Doesn't matter.
In that county
It's
or
still
that
a law.
state.
It's still the law. The law is the law.
But we have to deal with what's going on now.
I give you another one. Doesn't matter. If you must obey every law blindly, you must obey all the law blindly. There were laws, in Stalin made the laws, for example, that people were supposed to have their property confiscated. Hitler made the laws that people were supposed to go in the camps. By the way, there was a Supreme Court case before the black people, they were completely free, that said, black people, they're never going to become American citizens. I would not comply with that law. Yes, I can give you the case.
Well, okay.
Now,
I know we got some... But
laws, if they go against God, if they go against natural laws, I think we have right to at least remember that the United States Constitution, Bill of Rights, is the supreme law of the land. And then at that point, it's up to you and God. Tomorrow they can say, by the way, Don, you don't need a rifle. You give you black powder. It's a federal law. Are you going to comply?
I understand
Screw
what you're
you.
saying.
Tell you something. If you tell me that tomorrow, even the old Congress and Senate say, you have now the Second Amendment with just the black powder, a single shot, it's going to be the law of the land. You must comply. I'm sorry, I will not. That's all I'm saying. I hope we can do this peacefully. And know what we can do now? Prepare. Start to talk with your politicians. I agree with you. We got to engage politically. Get your state legislators. There is also our county that are doing a great job. Supervisor Hildy Andrews, she's trying to reclaim state land to us from the federal government. We need to get back to control our own land. This is a good opportunity. Let's use this crisis, like Rahm Emanuel said, for a good cause. Yeah. To wake up, we are Americans, these people work for us, they are not our gods, not because they got a uniform or they got some white collar from Washington. These people, they are all on our tax dollar. We are the masters here. They are the freaking worker for us.
And I think that what we need to do is make sure that we engage those legislatures. Let's change these onerous, draconian laws and where Americans can be free again.
Yes.
And nobody's disagreeing that the federal government is overreaching in a lot of areas. But I just want to make sure that people know, hey, I obey the laws. I pay my fees. I pay my taxes. I don't like it any more than anybody else, but we've got to do it.
Are you going to pay a global tax, the carbon tax? Are you going to pay that?
I don't know what I'm going to pay.
I'm not going to pay United Nations global tax. Screw you, seriously. I really mean it.
I'm talking about specific
and this is specific. This ECA that you're saying, I beg you, I don't have any type of personal gain. I'm not running for office. I don't care. Go to YouTube or whatever, Google Agenda 21. This is all part of global government. They try to use our counties, our states, or the people that fall for it, and our federal government for sure, to completely control our natural resources. So they will use our own laws against ourselves to enslave us.
But folks, remember, and I understand where Luca's going with this. I think you do too. You've seen him now, and you know what he's doing and how he feels. And he has a right to feel that way. But we also, the average Joe Blow citizen in America, this is America. I think we have the best system in the world. And if people don't like to live in America, they got options. But I'm saying in this situation, in this Bundy situation, Mr. Bundy is in clear violation. Clear violation. And every time that I've seen that the federal government has tried to mitigate this to the point where we've got a peaceful solution and say, hey, listen, buddy, you're in violation of the law. Mr. Bundy cannot declare himself that he's above the law because he disagrees with it. And that's my point. He says he doesn't agree with it. He doesn't think the federal government has any authority over him. I state that he does. So I think that he should be in compliance. I comply with my federal rules that I have to do because I operate on public lands. And I think that's something that you really got to look at. This isn't a private guy that's operating on his own private land. This is a guy who is out there in the public, and he's using public land, has not paid a fee in 20 years, and yet he's making a living off that. And that's a point that I think really disturbs me. I'm trying to make a living, but I pay my fees. He's made a living for 20 years. He hasn't paid a fee, and he owes the government $1 million. Now, I will be the first to sit here and say there is way too much rules, regulations, and overreach. But I don't think that we can just arbitrarily say we're not doing it. We're stopping right here. And then, like Lucas said, Luca really don't care about Mr. Bundy's situation.
No, I don't care.
He thinks it's a much bigger issue than that. And it may be. I don't know. But I'm dealing today with that issue about Mr. Bundy and what he's done in the last 20 years. I'm glad the government didn't go in there and say, okay, and you know, we're gonna take these people come heck or high water. I'm glad that didn't happen. But it's not over. I'm telling you, it's not over.
I agree, Don. It's not over. And I always hope it would be, but unfortunately it cannot be over.
Right. And as long as we got people in the government that are trying to put the, you know, enforce these onerous laws, we just got to change them.
Let's start, first of all, focus. One thing. What if a judge is still a human being, okay? I don't care. It's federal, state court. You ever heard about the Battle of Athens, Tennessee, 1946?
Yes. Oh, yeah, I know about that.
There was a government, was a local judge, was a local sheriff, completely corrupted. GI veterans fought the Nazis. They came back home and they see their county completely overrun. Now, I'm not advocating for violence, but who is the final authority? We, the people, created the federal government. Let's not forget that. That's in the Constitution and Declaration of Independence. We, the people. So, I'm all for the system. We need to follow the 3 branches, but we don't even have any more 3 branches. We have now an executive that's like a king, for God's sake, and using these freaking judges like some sort of ambassador of the king. Let's wake up. This is not the republic of our fathers. We are now in the new America. I'm sorry, guys. These judges can be just a bunch of corrupted bastards. That's what they are. Well, and unfortunately, not all of them, but some of them they are. Because we have a corrupted bastard that is not even an American, probably. We don't even know where he's from. It's called Mr. Obama. I even don't want to call him as a president. Sorry, this guy worked for foreign government. By the way, Google it. We have Chinese troops in Hawaii since December. And according to the Judicial Watch, this bastard has been giving arms, weapons to Russia just the last month for free. And he's been banning 150,000 surplus M1 Garand for American people. We are under occupation.
All right, folks, it's been a great show today. Luca,
I love you,
buddy,
man. You my brothers in arms, okay? I don't care, and we're here to help each other because at the end of the day, the enemy is not among us, not behind, is in front of us. Right. And I will give my life for you.
Okay, and like I say, folks, you know, you know, we don't disagree on some stuff. We don't agree on some stuff. And it's you, the American public, that will ultimately make the choice on this and the call on this. If you think that this is all wrong, that you're tired of all this government stuff, call your legislators.
Good.
Start at the ground level, at the city, county, state level. And I know we got representatives on the federal level that I personally know that I think are listening. And I think they need to take this message back to Washington that, hey, there's a bunch of stuff out here that's wrong. Straighten it out or get out. Now, don't let this country go to revolution to stop the problems that are going on. This is just the beginning. The Bundy situation was nothing more, I think, than a rallying point,
yes,
a galvanizing point for people who are tired of federal stuff. But when you look at when this thing, and I've told this to legislators, don't hook your wagon on Mr. Bundy now, because Mr. Bundy's wrong. He has violated the law. He's thrown his fingers up at the law, and he won't do what is lawful, the law of the land. So don't go out there. You don't need to go out there and get in a gunfight with the government, but we do need to use our legislative process. Let's get this handled in a peaceful manner. And again, Luca.
Thank you, man.
Buddy.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Listen, folks, this has been one of the greatest shows I've ever been part of, and I appreciate you all staying with us on this. And until next week, I'm saying keep your firearms oiled, your fishing line fresh, and we'll see you back at camp.